LuisAngel Acuna has been called up to the show. What does it mean for the Mets? Why they made the decision? And how could Acuna impact the team as we head into the final stretch? We're breaking all of that down on this special edition of Mets Digest. What is going on, Metropolitans? My name is Flobo Boyce, and I'm one half of the Mets Digest team, breaking down Mets news and notes the best way we possibly can because we know it is high time we took back New York, man. Orange and blue fever is running rampant. Thank you so much for watching the video. Before I get into today's news, just gotta say, if you're watching this right now, if you like the channel, if this is your first time on the channel, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. You see that not subscribed, 76.8%? Yeah, you don't want to be part of that group. Myself, alongside Mike D'Angelo, we work tirelessly to bring you the Mets news and notes you need, and we need your help to make sure this channel grows. So please, please, please like the video, hit subscribe. All right, now that's all out the way. Let's talk about the big story of the weekend. It is deep into September baseball, the 2024 season. I feel like I have to say that with emphasis because nobody expect us to be this far down the line. Going into 2024 was kind of a rebuilding year, but we showed the world the power of Grimace or Max Wiener or the Iggy Rally Dog or Seymour Wiener or the Hawk Tour Girl. You can pick whatever you like. But we are doing some good acquisitions. We're doing some good call-ups. And the biggest call-up so far has to be LuisAngel Acuna. Yes, that's the case because we talk about what we need to let the little kids play, let the baby Mets play. LuisAngel was one of the many pieces we acquired last season with that trade for Max Scherzer, sending him back over to Texas, allowing him to get a ring with LuisAngel being in the system. He has been able to show an absolute force in AA, and even though he struggled in AAA, the Mets decided to call him up the weekend of this very important Phillies series. And the question I have, or a question a lot of people have, was why? What really brought this up to have him call up for this weekend against the Philadelphia Phillies? A lot of things are at play. Phillies still hold the best record in baseball, even though they're kind of going through their own little bit of struggles. It's a season where the National League there's no one in the National League on pace to win 100 games. It may not even have a team to win 97 games the way it's going. So they want to be able to finish strong. So this is a high leverage series. There's no reason for Philadelphia to let off the gas, but definitely it was the infield makeup. Remember, we lost Jeff McNeil for possibly the entirety of the season, even though he is desiring to come back towards the end in playoff runs if we make it with his wrist injury. So there was already a gap there. Iglesias, somehow our best player as far as batting average is concerned, is playing every day. And even though I don't complain about Iglesias playing every day, you can even argue that when David Stearns made the acquisition for Iglesias, there really wasn't a role for him to be the everyday infielder. It just kind of gets over than that. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Check this out from Field Level Media. This is by way of ESPN. They say LuisAngel Acuna has played second base, shortstop, and center field. Super important because Carlos Mendoza likes to shuffle the deck when given the opportunity. At Syracuse, he has posted a 258 average, 7 home runs, 50 RBIs, and 40 stolen bases. Now, even though I talked about how he raked in AA, Syracuse, the AAA level, the Syracuse Mets, has been a bit of a struggle. In fact, there really was an argument of whether or not you bring up Acuna or you don't bring him up Acuna. It was kind of advocates for both because once he got promoted to the AAA level, it really wasn't as cut and dry as it was, as he was totally mashing in the AA level. I continue. The Mets acquired Acuna in 2022 in a trade on July 30th, 2023, towards pretty much the end, the wire of that trade deadline, when New York dealt pitcher Max Scherzer in cash to the Texas Rangers. Let me stop down quite a bit about the Texas Rangers, let me talk about the trades, including the Texas Rangers trade, the Houston Astros trade with Verlander that season. I know everyone wants to talk about who wins a trade, who loses a trade, but as it is right now, it was a rebuild that needs to be done. Verlander is happy in Houston, even though he hasn't had the inning count he wanted. And Max Scherzer was happy enough to get a championship, even though he isn't the Max Scherzer of old. So I don't want to say who won or who lost, but definitely the Mets benefited. So what does that leave Acuna? A utility infielder, somebody who has a little bit of that pedigree. His brother, Ronald Acuna, is on the Braves organization, and even though he's nursing a leg injury this season, is kind of a marquee player for that. So it's a little bit more insight about the actual move of getting LuisAngel on the squad. This one comes from MLB Trade Rumor. Shout out to that squad for their work. With Jeff McNeil out for the rest of the regular season and possibly the playoffs too, Jose Iglesias is a move to the everyday lineup, and Eddie Alvarez is the only infielder left on the bench. This is very important. Eddie Alvarez was acquired just last week. However, Alvarez joined the Mets organization after September 1st, which means he'll be ineligible for the postseason roster. This is why this is doubly important. One, you need someone to fill that roster spot if we go into the playoffs. But two, the fact that David Stearns sees this tells you that he is confident we could be a playoff team. Currently, we're sitting number 3 in that wild card spot, and it looks like the way we're trending upward, the way we attacked that first game in that Phillies series, the only way to go is up. Look, the third wild card is great, but the second wild card or even the first wild card is even better. And even though we do play the Phillies 6 more times or 5 more times at the end of the season, the odds of us catching them are kind of slim. How cool would it be after all that flack, after all that guff, that we actually win the division? It's been a while. I'm just saying, I will love it. It'll make me feel great. So, yeah, that's why we had to make this move as we can. We promoted LuisAngel up from AAA. Also, Brett Baty's off the table. If you remember, he's out for the season with that injury as well. So it kind of makes you wonder whether this could have been Brett Baty's chance to shine, but it really wasn't the case. Just this poor happenstance for them. And I kind of feel sorry for Brett Baty in this point, but I don't know if he's going to be in the plans for next season or if he's going to be a trade piece, but that's something we could talk about as we move forward. I want to talk to you about DJ Stewart. He is the victim, I guess, of the corresponding move. He goes back down to Syracuse, didn't do all that much with his second or possibly third, if you want to combine them or keep them separate, stint with the team this fall, batting just a mere 177 since being called back up. And that's crazy because at the beginning of the season, I thought Stewart had been part of our secret sauce. You know, one of those hardworking, nose on the grindstone guys. Really wasn't the case. So DJ Stewart is the one that has to be sent down with a corresponding move. We just grinded a little bit for him. We won't go too crazy into that. So, we were talking about what it means to be in the show. It's a crazy thing. 2 seasons ago, I remember Francisco Alvarez was brought up as an offensive option because he was doing very, very well in AAA. He got kind of overmatched a couple times in that Frivolous Braves series, and people said it was too much of a high leverage situation to put a fresh rookie in. Maybe some chattings and rumblings are about that when it comes to Acuna's prognosis at the end of the year. But I say, why not? The team is strong enough to support some opportunity to try at bats, and he's still young. Acuna is very, very young and be able to be a speed option as well. So if you're a fan of Ronald, a lot of people are asking what was the relationship like because the Mets and Braves are rival organizations. I think the Braves rivalry is bigger than the Phillies rivalry, but I'm in the minority. There was a discussion about whether or not Ronald was supportive of LuisAngel being called to the show, and this is what he said. This is what LuisAngel said to Alan Suriel, who is the Mets interpreter, and this was reported by SNY. LuisAngel Acuna says his brother Ronnie Acuna called him once and he heard the news of his call-up. He said, "This is everything you've been working for, but now starts the real part." And I do think that is something we can all relate to, whether or not if you played in the show, if you knew someone that played in the show, or if you're like me and just play MLB the show. As it is right now, I'm like stuck in 2 seasons of AAA Albuquerque for the Isotopes. My creative players just waiting for that call up for the Rockies. It's been too long. Yes, so let me ask you a question watching this now. David Stearns, when he was posted as the president of baseball operations, said, look, we will try to get some good pieces, but when it comes to the 2024 outlook, we have to give opportunities to our prospects, let them play. We have it right here in the middle of September. a call up for LuisAngel Acuna, who's actually slotted in. And I got just news now as I record this. They slotting in for Francisco Lindor, who is another infielder who's played every single game this season, but left on Friday night due to discomfort in his back. Hopefully, it's just a minor injury. And I can understand Carlos Mendoza is just taking his time because of the favorable position the Mets are. But you really want to have as many options on that bench as you can now, and definitely when the postseason rolls around. So let me know what you think of the news. Are you thinking this is going to be a game changer move? Do you think, no, you know what, let the kid play, get a couple of base hits, just produce, the other team will pick him up? Do you think we should do something else or more? I would love to hear what you got in the comments below. I actually read them, good, bad, positive, negative. I understand you guys are Mike D'Angelo fans, but I am too. This is Mets Digest. We'll be back soon with more content, the stuff you love so much. And until next time, as always, it's LGM to the bitter end.